With this, we have come to the last speaker of the inaugural, but very important speaker of this entire ecosystem. We have a special guest from NSDC. We have with us Dr. Maneesh Mishra, Group Head of Strategy, National Skill Development Council. A big round of applause for him, please. I'm sure his deliberations will be very important for all of us, all the stakeholders who are trying to make a difference in the skill ecosystem of the country. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Being the last speaker of the session actually is both good and bad. Good because most of what you would have come to say has already been said. And bad because you're most often than not standing between the well-deserved break that the audience wants and the session. I'll try to keep it short. And NEP is something that has been mentioned over and over again during this session. I also, unfortunately, wanted to start with NEP, but everything about NEP has already been said. But having said that, why I wanted to talk about NEP is for last 20 odd years, one has been participating in academic educational seminars where the oft-repeated topic used to be why academia is not aligned to the employment market or industry requirement. And most often than not, who you would see in that room, or people on the dais or the speakers, they're all primarily from academia, researchers, academic doyens, leaders. And this is going on for last 20 years, and nobody seems to have found a solution. Of late, one is seeing some activity in this space. A lot of very smart, new age academic institutions have also been coming in, and they are trying to do things differently. NEP, in that sense, is actually a very important instrument, in my understanding, which actually opens up these spaces for such dialogues wherein people can come from a wide variety of walks of life, people from industry, academia, researchers. They can all come, discuss things, and maybe think of solutions that actually work, think of solutions that are rooted in the reality of the day. And that is why this is actually very, very important. I have a structured presentation for you, but I think you know your numbers already by now. So what I would like to focus upon is how this whole academic system has evolved, and how, when we talk about vocationalization of education at every level, what are the challenges that we face and what are the possible opportunities. Look at what we were left with when the Britishers left the country. There were about 70 odd universities is what one gathers, and about 500 odd colleges, which is now expanded to something like 54,000 colleges and over 1,000 universities and over 15 lakh odd institutions. So the expansion bit, and that's the first E that I wanted to talk about today. The expansion bit has actually been taken care of in a big manner. So, and with a lot of open schooling, morning, the chairperson of the NIOS was also there, and so access to a very large extent has actually been taken care of. But when I come to my second E, which is excellence, so fortunately, we are today in the august company of IITs, IT directors, and people who are at the helm of the affairs in the top-notch academic institutions. But we spoke about 1,000 odd universities. The institutions below this 90 percentile are actually, most of them, very, very average, and the kind of education that they are offering is no match to what the industry actually requires, and that is where this whole quality problem arises. So this excellence is, yes, we have created these islands of excellence in form of IITs and IIMs and some of the other institutions. But having said that, a country which 17% of the people on earth call home only produces 2% of world's research. So there too, we have a massive gap, and we actually need to work on this excellence front too. But what I'm more qualified to talk about is employability, and that is something that one would like to delve a little deeper. One often is reminded of one McKinsey study that was done way back in 2008, which said about 65% of the college graduates are actually not employable. With a great amount of curiosity, I was actually looking for literature which suggests otherwise, because we are talking about some 15 years have passed since then. And one got to look at a report by VBox which said we still are about 47% of our graduates are such that are not employable. So we have actually not made a huge progress there. And probably we need to do something structurally very, very different. Somebody mentioned thinking of out of the box. Probably that kind of a thinking is required. And the much needed policy push in terms of NEP is already there. So maybe we can use that, and through dialogues, discussions, try and do something about it. Why it might be happening is because the three worlds, that is world of education, world of skills, and world of work, they might actually be, hitherto have been working in silos, right? Curricula is not aligned to the industry because academia and to a very large extent the skill establishment also has not been able to align with the industry requirement very well. There has been a paucity of quality trainers. Mobility from education to vocational has also been a problem. So these working in three different silos is actually part of the problem. While your world of work offers jobs, it is saddled with a lot of labor laws. It offers a huge apprenticeship opportunity, but unfortunately we are not doing very well on the apprenticeship front. 2016 we took a pledge that we'll over next 4 years say do about 5 million odd apprenticeship opportunities should be created. We still are languishing around 500,000. This I think over last 2 years we have been able to double the numbers from 2.5 lakhs to 5 lakhs this year, and the target for the next year is about 1 million. But believe you me, it actually takes a lot of doing. It actually takes a lot of effort to bring the industry on board. And the fact that large part of this economy is actually not formal is also not helping the matters. But even the ones that are part of the formal economy, we actually need to find ways to bring them on board. So that's very, very important. So there's a lot of work that is on the apprenticeship front. You have eased the regulation. It used to be quote unquote draconian, where the imprisonment, etc., were all there as part of the National Apprenticeship Act and the policy. But all that has been removed now. The maximum penalty is about 1,000 rupees for any offense or any non-compliance, so to say. But still getting the word out and getting people onboarded, generating those contracts. So getting on the institution onboarded is also one thing, but generating those contracts is also there's a trust deficit that one needs to do something about in order to get the industry in practice of hiring apprentices. So what we at NSDC have been thinking is how we can possibly bring these three together. And there are very, very natural overlaps between the world of education, the world of skills, and the world of work. And all the intersection points, namely 1, 2, 3, 4, you actually have, I'm sorry, there should have been 4. So all these intersections, you actually have opportunity. You talk about world of education, and how can it transact more with world of skills? And I heard somebody say that let's take an example from the higher education, where the curricula is so rigid that if I enter a college today, and by the time I graduate, say in 2026, the world around that institution would have very drastically changed, right? And the higher education institutions, in many cases, and with due respect to you all, sirs, is not really programmed to bring in those changes that early. And that reminds me of one example that is very often quoted about Renault, which, when was moving towards this EV transition, actually decided to train all their engineers who were ICE engineers into either battery technicians or data scientists over a period of 1.5 years. But an industry could do it, because industry was actually seeing that there's no future for these people. Now, how quickly that input from the industry can go to the institutions, and how quickly can the institutions act upon it, is something that needs to be thought about very, very clearly. So now here, and I'm not offering it as a solution, I think the skill establishment in the country might actually come into play in a big way. Skills, by their very nature, are supposed to be working with the employment market of some kind very, very closely. Unlike education, skills training has got to find an application immediately after the training ends. And there's a world of evidence available saying that though the ROI on the academic or general education is actually very high as compared to the skill education, because it deals with a variety of other factors. It makes you a good human being, more responsible citizen, focus upon your personal well-being, healthcare, make the whole world a better place. On the contrary, skills is something which is very narrow and which has to be given with a view so that immediately after this training is given, there is an opportunity to practice it, either in form of apprenticeship or internship or employment opportunity. Because if you don't do it, the whole effort that you put in, the resources that you put in, actually goes down the drain. So that has got to be kept in mind. So between the world of skills and the world of education, what can possibly be done? There can be micro-credentialing that can possibly be a solution. So while you offer a 4-year degree program or a 3-year degree program, you can possibly bring in micro-credentials which are generated, qualifications that are generated in consultation with the industry, that can be offered alongside the program, so that you make the education relevant and also the person employable by the end. So that could be one possible solution. The other thing that one can possibly do, so from our ivory towers of excellences that we have created, the second rungs or the third rung institutions, there has to be a better way of connecting these IITs and IIMs with the second rung, third rung institutions. And Dr. IIT Mandi is sitting here. So we are actually in talks with IIT Mandi for a very small program that we can possibly take it to the second rung, third rung engineering colleges. So if you can maybe just improve the access, the technology is now available for you to then connect so many other colleges, etc., with a certain IIT or IIM, and this is where they actually can play a huge role. And believe you me, somebody who has never been to IIT, who always wanted to be a part of an IIM system, it is actually a huge plus for that person who is actually maybe pursuing it in a not so well known institution there in Greater Noida, but then getting an opportunity to be taught by professor of one of the IITs or IIMs. I think many of the IIT IIMs directors that I have spoken to of late, they are willing to offer this kind of a service, and they actually wanted to come on board. And with some institutions, we have had an early start. The other interesting development that has happened in the area, the emergence of skill universities. And Madam is sitting here. I think they're also born out of this necessity, because probably the traditional university setup was actually not doing enough, and it was not linking the candidates who are enrolled with them to job opportunities immediately. So they are actually born out of that necessity, and probably they're doing a good job, but all of them actually have got to go a long way. There are a lot of embedded programs that we are talking about, the multiple entry exit that most of the skill universities actually offer. And embedded programs actually, in my understanding, can go a long way if they are organized well, if they are structured well. So this crossover between education skills, these kind of establishments can actually play a very, very important role. So one is actually watching it with a lot of curiosity as to how these are shaping up, and how can they possibly go ahead and do continue this good work. As far as the world of skills and world of education's interaction with the world of work, I think that is where this industry needs to come forward in a major way. The policy is already, the policy makers are, I think, alert to this, to this ask. And apprenticeship is one opportunity. This work-based opportunity for learning actually is very, very critical, and therefore the policy instrument, and also through a lot of advocacy and maybe awareness, we can possibly bring in more institutions to play ball, and that would actually be the game changer. So this 4 months, 5 months, 6 months to a year kind of apprenticeship actually does a world of good to somebody who actually is seeking an opportunity to work. Now with technology, this has also been enabled further. So you can actually think of a virtual apprenticeship in many fields. It's possible. IT, etc., in the fields of media, etc., this is possible. But there too we have, for higher education, you have something like NATS, National Apprenticeship Training Scheme, and for the level below you actually have NAPS. I think the two also need to work very closely together in order to share learnings, etc., and best practices. And going forward, I actually don't see a reason why the two can't actually be converged and just one entity, because it's all about, largely about how you bring on the industry players on board, and then offer opportunities of work-based learning to the students who are part of the academic setup, or for the matter, and skill institution setup. So these are some of the ideas that I wanted to share. So there's a huge opportunity of creating synergies by collapsing these worlds, and not really collapsing, but actually bringing it together, and then looking for where are the opportunities to create value. So that is what my proposal to this August gathering is. We are very open as National Skill Development Corporation. We are actually moving around the country, talking to all universities with massive setups, etc. They can either come as content and training delivery partners with us. We can set up maybe some kind of a delivery model wherein their students and also the students around that area, because we are already talking about something like a skill hub as the NEP implementation measure, and most of these institutions are more than willing to become the skill hubs, where they can not only offer the quality skill training programs to their students, but also the students who would have never dreamt of making it to an institution like that. So I think it's still a long way to go, but in dialogues like this, and thanks to APAC and the kind of experts that we have here on the dais and also off it, this dialogue will certainly take us somewhere. So wishing all of us all the very best, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Maneesh Mishra, Group Head Strategy, NSDC, for giving a new perspective, world of skill, world of education, and world of work, and how these three worlds can get married together to come up with that unique model of skilled workforce, future-ready workforce for future. Thank you so much, all of you. I will again like to thank all our esteemed speakers who have been part of the inaugural session: Dr. Kalpana Gopalan, Dr. B. Chandrasekhar, Dipankar Bhattacharya, Amit Shah, Professor Rajat Moona, Professor Lakshminder Behera, Professor Saroj Sharma, Professor B. Venkataramana, Dr. Maneesh Mishra, and also Andhra Vamsi, who joined us virtually. Thank you so much, all of you. I request Mr. Rajneesh De, Consulting Editor of APAC News Network, to come on stage and hand over the memento, the token of appreciation, to all our speakers of the inaugural session. A huge round of applause for all of them, please. We can start with Dr. Kalpana Gopalan, Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Karnataka. I think Dr. B. Chandrasekhar has left. To Professor Rajat Moona, Director, IIT Bhilai. Can you have a huge round of applause for all of them, please? To Professor Lakshminder Behera, Director, IIT Mandi. Professor V. Venkataramana, Vice Chairman, Telangana State Council of Higher Education. Dr. Maneesh Mishra, Group Head of Strategy, NSDC. Mr. Dipankar Bhattacharya, Head of Indian as ASEAN Education Experiences, Autodesk. Huge round of applause for him. And Mr. Amit Shah, National Head, People Link Unified Communications. May I request all the esteemed speakers to come together for a group photo, please, and then we can start the next session. In the meantime, I'll request Mr. Anand V. Pujari, Education Account Manager, Autodesk, to be ready with presentation, because we're running short of time. We're not going for any break, so we'll start the presentation right away. That was the inaugural session of the 4th edition of APAC Global Education and Skill Conclave. The theme of the inaugural session was Reinventing Education in New India, Governance, Policies, Emerging Trends and Best Practices.